and all that, or?
Well, when we got to Miss Jeannie's house, we got to play the piano and feed the bird out of our hand. We stuck it in there. He took Megan's out of her hand and dropped it, and it got under the crack,
Cage,
cage, so he couldn't get it. And I fed it to him, and he bit it, and then he dropped it, but it didn't go through the crack. And so he would get it on the way while we were all gone. Then she said, let's wrap it up, hack it up, and get in the car. So we did. And I sat in the back seat with my booster. Megan, Abby, and Samantha sat. Abby was on this side, but in front of me, and then Megan over here, and then Abby slouched down in the other middle seat. And then we drove and 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 drove.
It was a long way.
And drove and drove and drove and drove.
And then you got there.
And drove and drove and drove until we passed a pumpkin patch. And then we kept on driving because she didn't know where we were. So she finally rolled down her window because she saw some people, and they told us where the children's theater was.
Oh, good. And then?
We finally got in the parking lot. But first we went to go see the pumpkins. We walked around the block and walked, and then we saw pumpkins. So we ran over to the pumpkins. And we got to sit in between the pumpkins. There were little spaces in between the pumpkins because the pumpkins were gone. And we sat in them, and we got to get a picture. And then we went to the little pumpkins, and we all held one. And we took a picture again. And then we went back inside the children's theater, back to the inside the theater. And she asked the first man. First, we found a map. Actually, first we found the first man, and he said, I don't have a clue where it is. And then Abby found a map. So she came over and tried to find the children's theater on there, but we couldn't find it. Then we were walking down the hall again, and we met another man, and he said, my guess would be down that hall, make a left, and there. And
was he right?
He was right. So he punched our tickets, but first, after he punched our tickets and everything we hid, there were these little seats, small and big, small and big. 2 people, 1 person, 2 people, 3 people, 2 people, 3 people, and then we all hid in one like this and peeked out, and she took a picture, and then we went into the theater and watched the movie. Well, not the movie, but the play.
Right.
And then there was they all were dressed in black, and even Mary, and they all bowed after Kevin, the announcer, came and said, da 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 da, and then they all came out and said they bowed and stuff, and then they went back up in there, and Mary just sat and stayed on the bench whenever she was supposed to. She was facing that way, and she was probably like I forget, but
what was the story about?
Like the story was about a little girl.
Keep
I
going.
gotta get Preston.
That's okay. Keep going. I want to hear.
Yeah, me too.
A little girl and these 2 boys, and this girl and this boy, and this girl and boy, and they all like they all were 2 people or 3 people at one time.
Okay.
And
I'm sorry, say that again.
And then there was this little girl named Mary, which was really named Abigail.
Okay.
Which Abby and Abigail.
Right.
Same name, right?
And then she, at the age of 7 or 8 or 9, 7, 8 or 6 or whatever, she got pretty mean and wanted orders right then and there. And she said, "Where's my golden dress?" And
Where's my what?
"Where's my golden dress?"
Oh.
And she stomped on the floor and stomped on the floor and stomped, 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 stomped. And then
So
finally,
she wasn't being nice?
and then finally, the waitress came out and gave her her golden dress.
And then what about the garden and the key and all that?
Yeah. And then she went to sleep and then woke up and then got dressed in a blue dress and her boots and found a key buried in the ground after she took 10 paces turn, 10 paces, and then dug after the robin she held.
What's a robin?
It's a bird.
Oh, a bird told her where it was at?
A bird told her where the key was at.
Oh.
So she dug up the key. The robin showed her where the door was. So she opened the door of the invisible secret garden.
How'd the robin tell her?
Chirp, chirp.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
So you couldn't actually talk.
I know. And then she went into the garden. It was all lonely and dead and sad. And she met this boy named, I forget,
Colin?
but what?
Was it Colin?
No, Colin was the sick boy.
Oh, the sick boy.
Okay, so Mary meets this boy.
Mary meets this boy named, it starts with a D.
Okay.
That's fine. Does she have the key?
Yes, she still has the key.
It's
She
like
meets
Dublin
this,
or something, but yes.
yes, like Dublin or something. And then he comes out and meets her, and they meet, and then they go into the garden. And he promised that he would come every day to help her with the garden. In the next 2 weeks, he came and gave her a plow, the shovel kind of thing plow. And then she helped the garden grow a little bit, pulled out these jars of flowers, fake flowers, turned over these knobs of flowers, fake flowers.
Uh-huh.
Gotcha.
And then and then they went home again. She heard crying, but the waitress didn't tell her what it is, so she went to sleep. Next morning, back to the garden again. So back to sleep. Heard crying noise again, and guess what? She got up, went over to the next room, and there it was. Colin.
That was the little boy.
Colin.
Well, what's Colin like?
He's sick. He said he couldn't walk. He said, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die.
Okay.
But Mary said, no, you're not. No, you're not. And I'm not gonna hear any of this whine.
Wow. She wasn't up with the whining, huh?
Wow.
Then she went back and said they both got scared because there was a thundering, raining night, and they said hi. Here's a garden book. After they met each other, Mary gave him a garden book to look through.
A little louder.
After they met, Mary gave him the next night a garden book
Oh, okay.
to look through.
Uh-huh.
And she told him about gardens so he would go to sleep. She went back to sleep. She couldn't get any sleep. She stayed up till 2 in the morning.
Wow.
She went to sleep. She woke up. The waitress was there to put her golden dress on her. She went to the garden again with her friend. And this time they went and got Colin's wheelchair
Ah.
and let Colin sit in it. And so they went to the garden. Colin thought he was allergic to fresh air.
Ah.
He wasn't. And so they went into the garden. He saw beautiful trees. He saw the robin's nest. He saw the robin.
What did the robin say again?
Chirp, chirp.
Gotcha. Okay.
And they were happy after that. And then a few weeks later, Colin was running.
He was running. I thought he was in a wheelchair.
How did he learn how to run?
Mary and his friend taught him.
How'd they do that? I thought he was gonna die.
He got over that.
How did he get over it?
Would you stop asking me
I
questions?
want to know.
I want to know. I don't understand. They just taught him to walk in the garden? No, it wasn't
It
in the
was a
garden.
miracle.
Oh! What was the miracle?
Tell me.
He learned how to walk. That's the miracle.
Oh, okay. So they teach him to walk. So he's out of his wheelchair now?
Yes.
Okay, and then what happens?
And then they were playing tag, and the waitress and her stepmother came out, and they said hi to Colin's father. And Colin was so happy to see his father, and father was so